All right, now we can get back on topic, which was Raw. After the whole thing that we got with Lesnar and Heyman, we got Roman Reigns versus Ryback. Roman Reigns comes out, Kane comes out in a suit. He's back to being corporate Kane, and he says, "Roman Reigns, it was impressive what you did last week. You almost defeated Kane." Which was weird because he was speaking in third person, and that's like almost defeating two people because Kane is just such a badass apparently. Although, of course, that's him talking about himself, so there you go. So what we're going to do tonight is let you actually face two people. And then it was Ryback, which I totally called because as soon as he said we're going to let you face two people, I said, is it going to be Ryback? And everyone was like, no, there's no way. And then, yup.
Yeah. Not really much to say about this match. I loved Ryback's attitude because Chris Axel came in, "You're nothing but a punk kid. You're a coward." And then he shoves Roman Reigns, to which Roman Reigns responds with an uppercut of sorts to Axel. Then Ryback's like, "Tag in the big guy," and tags himself in. Then Ryback starts mouthing off to Roman Reigns, and then he gets some. So Ryback's again proving to be hilarious. I really love those guys. But, Roman Reigns pretty much, well, I guess you really can't say he overcame in the context of the match because Ryback still did regain the upper hand at one point, but they were very excessive in their brutality, so to speak. The referee told them to stop Irish whipping Reigns into the steel post. They kept doing it. They didn't adhere to the warning, so the match got thrown out. They got DQ'd. But when they tried to continue the assault, Roman Reigns turned the tables around. And ultimately, long story short, Roman Reigns does stand tall again after delivering 2 consecutive spears. So, yeah, Roman Reigns coming on top again, which I guess I can forgive because he took that huge beating. I think it was, 2 weeks ago now? So, it's whatever. I'm scared when I see Roman Reigns overcoming these kinds of odds almost consistently because I don't want him to get seen where people turn on him, and I don't want that to be his career, but I'm
It's
really
happening
scared.
already, my friend. It's
Yeah,
happening
it's
already.
happening already. That's a shame because you know what a big fan of Roman Reigns I am, and I still am. Like I can't really say that I've grown agitated or irritated with him yet. I mean, yeah, it's a little bothersome, but I still am entertained by what he does in there. I just hate to think what his career is going to become when they really say, "Okay, Reigns, it's time for you to take your place at the top of the mountain." So,
Yep. Can I just establish one thing?
of course.
I freaking love Ryback. I don't know if you heard it or not, but at one point during this match, he yells, "Playtime's over, and so am I!"
I did hear that. Dude, did you see? Because I'm really beginning to love the backstage, like I guess off work, so to speak, off the clock WWE videos. And Eden Styles catches up with Ryback, and he says he's reading this book about positivity, and then he kind of looks off into the sunset, and he's like, "God, my life sucks right now," and it's so Ryback, I mean, my friend James is a Ryback mark. I think Ryback is his actual number one favorite, and I bust his chops all the time about how Ryback's never won a title, and he's just a jobber and this and that, and then, of course, he has to throw in my face that he has a bigger win-loss ratio than Morrison did, so thanks for that. But, in all seriousness, I, too, am a huge fan of Ryback. I want to see him go back to being a babyface. If he was this kind of babyface, where he was making these kinds of wisecracks, oh, dude, it'd be so good. It really is a travesty that he hasn't even won an Intercontinental or U.S. title, and more importantly than that, that he's fallen this far from being in the main event only just a year or two ago. It feels like I can't even remember when he was in the main event, but man, Ryback's just so entertaining.
Yeah, he is. The big guy. Gotta
The
love him.
big guy.
All right. So up next, we had, we already talked about the beatdown. Reigns turns it around, obviously. Then we saw Kane walking backstage. Randy Orton approaches. He says Ryback, Axel, and the Demon himself couldn't get the job done on Reigns, but he's going to end Reigns at SummerSlam. Kane says the Authority wants to make sure Orton's ready for SummerSlam, so he's facing Sheamus tonight, because that's a match that's always received well.
Yeah, and I just want to say very quickly before that, just to kind of backtrack a little bit, we did have Roman Reigns give a post-match promo to Renee Young. She was in the ring, asking Reigns what he felt about his match at SummerSlam, and he
This
says,
was
"Well, I
such
don't
a
know, Portland,
weird
because Portland
promo,
was
dude.
hot for Reigns."
Oh my god, this promo was so weird.
Yeah, And pretty much he says, what do you, he says the Viper's back, but what happens when what becomes of a Viper when you knock its fangs down its throat? And he says, a worthless little worm. And then he says, I've never stolen anything from Randy Orton, but at SummerSlam, I'm taking everything from him. And then in the weirdest, inflection, tone, however you want to say it, possible, Reigns does his phrase, believe that? And he just puts the mic. I'm like, what? I thought he would have just been the more straightforward, believe that, but you got a little bit more colorful with it this week.
It didn't even sound like he said believe that. It just sounded like he said believed that.
Yeah, really.
And the way he opened up with there was this huge pause between Renee asking him if he was ready or not, and then he was like, am I ready? It was just like, what?
Yeah, pretty weird promo from Roman. That's why and even though this was a pretty succinct promo, I guess, all things considered, just the more succinct you keep it, the better it is for Roman Reigns.
Yeah. It was weird. But anyway, so now we can kind of move on back to where we were with the whole Orton Sheamus, because that match is so well received thing.
Right.
Yeah, just in case some people don't get the reference, Sheamus Orton was kind of the birth of the fans randomly chanting for Randy Savage and Jerry Lawler and JBL and Michael Cole and doing the wave and that kind of stuff because they were so freaking bored with it. And it was the night after WrestleMania, I want to say 29.
Right. I think that was it, dude.
Yeah. So let's make that our main event tonight. Yeah, that'll work. But anyway, up next was RVD versus Seth Rollins. Now, I feel like I remember watching this match start, but either I zoned out or walked into another room because I don't remember how it finished. And I don't remember how long it was. Was this a quick match?
I think it was a relatively short match. I wouldn't necessarily use the word quick because I do feel like they had a little bit of a back and forth. I'm right there with you, by the way. I, too, feel like I zoned out because the only thing I really remember was that RVD did what looked like was going to be a Rolling Thunder, but then he did just kind of like a splash to Rollins. And then I think he may have gone – I'm guessing he probably went for the 5-star. Rollins moved out of the way, and then when RVD was recovering, Seth was able to hit the curb stomp.
Right.
And he got the pin. So Rollins does win.
So I mean, if we had to tack a number, how long would we say this match was?
Honestly, maybe 7 minutes, 8 minutes.
Okay, so just that being said, and even if it was 10 minutes, can we just point out something that the WWE probably doesn't even realize they did? In that they made it look this week like if the Authority hadn't stuck their neck out to try and make Rollins' job easier to beat the clock last week, it probably wouldn't have set Dean Ambrose off, and he would have beat the clock anyway, because it was against RVD, and he would have beaten him in 8 minutes, I guess it was tonight, even 10 at max. And Ambrose's time was set at 15 minutes and some odd seconds. But no, the Authority tinkers, that pisses Dean Ambrose off, and then he comes out and screws Rollins over. The Authority inadvertently screwed Seth Rollins over.
Yeah, pretty much. I completely agree with you. I thought that was hilarious. Because and you know what? Again, this is where they back themselves into a corner, because if you wanted to stay consistent with that line of thought, you would have had RVD go over here. But then how damaging that would. It would have even made any sense, because RVD, he's part-time. He's, that veteran, and Seth Rollins is just coming up. So I'm not saying they should have done that. I'm just saying how they booked themselves into a corner, when they have, can he even beat RVD? And then, oh, wait, they're pulling RVD back and putting in heats later. It's, it just really makes things crazy. And then he ends up beating RVD, long before, 15 minutes even rolls around the clock. I think it was 15:42 was the time that he had to beat.
Yeah, the only thing that would have made this segment more amazing is if they would have had the timer running in the corner.
Yeah, really.
They started at 15:42 or whatever it was, 15, I don't know, was it 42?
Yeah, 15:42.
Okay, yeah, you start it there and just roll it back, and then Rollins picks up the pin, and all of a sudden he sees there are 7 minutes left on the timer, and it's like, oh, come on, why can't this count?
And then, he'd pan to Triple H in the back and be like, did you look at that? Just, sipping his coffee or something.
That was such a David Otunga moment that you gave to Triple H.
I miss him. Maybe it's just me projecting. But yeah,
I think Brie Bella should bring him back as her attorney to defend her.
Oh man, babyface Otunga.
Ladies and gentlemen, when that woman stepped in between these ropes, she consented to any physical damage that may have been done unto her, and therefore Bree is exempt from all charges.
But Otunga, I thought you were a heel. The law doesn't discriminate.
Suck my bow tie.
I'm done. I'm done. This has been This Week in the World of Wrestling.
That should be his catchphrase. Suck my bow tie. Takes a sip of coffee.
That just brings me back to my favorite David Otunga line where he spits the coffee and he's like, "What are you so upset about? If you ask me, it's an improvement." Oh, David, where are you? Oh God, that totally caught me off guard. I think I'm pretty much done for this.
David,
Next.
David, what are you smiling about? What are you so happy about? Because I just realized how much better I look in this sweater vest than you ever could.
Yes. Why Jennifer Hudson is keeping him away from a WWE ring, I'll never know. Oh God.
I mean, think about how much more money he's making as a lawyer as he would in WWE.
Yeah, but I mean, I've even read, like, it's weird because I've heard that she's not really fond of him being a wrestler, and she likes him doing the gigs on HON and providing legal analysis. But I've heard, allegedly that David does want to keep working for WWE. He loves being a wrestler. It's his dream, and I really admire that. So I don't even say this kiddingly, I hope we see him back. I do.
Do you know what's really hilarious, though?
What's that?
And this just clicked in my head, and it clicked in my head a long time ago, but it just re-clicked in my head.
Yeah.
David Otunga was on a reality show, something with some woman in New York. It was like New York of Love or something like that. And she gave nicknames to all the guys. And his nickname was Punk.
What?
I know, I'm not even joking either. I don't even know why I remember this. But yeah, I totally remember David Otunga being Punk before he was David Otunga.
Oh man, I do miss it. And you know what the funny thing is? Us talking about him, to me, it didn't even happen. Like, he didn't even have a presence on this Raw, but if he did, that would have just made this Raw so wonderful for me.
It was, yeah, here it is. I just Googled it. He was on a show called I Love New York Too. And he was known as Punk.
Because, yeah, I knew I heard what show you were talking about, but the title wasn't clicking. Yeah, he's been doing a lot. And the last we did see him, I do think he was in that Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, but we haven't,
Was he?
Hasn't had any kind of a presence. It's a shame.
Was he really in that?
Yeah, he was.
I don't remember him being in that. I'm going to have to go back and watch that then.
Yeah, he was either in that or he was in the Intercontinental Championship Battle Royal. He was in one of the Battle Royals that have taken place this year.
Maybe he was in the Royal Rumble. Maybe that was it.
Maybe.
Because they announced everybody that was going to be in the Andre Battle Royal beforehand.
I'd have to look it up. But I do think that was the last time we saw him. But
you know what? You're right. I just looked it up, and yeah,
at length just shows you how bad this Raw was.
Yeah, John. Yeah, I just looked it up, and it says here Otunga returned on April 6th, 2014, in the Honor of the Giant. Yeah, the Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania XXX. He was eliminated by Big E. How did I not remember that?
See, and you know how obsessed I am with the bow tie. You never forget. Every Otunga appearance just stays locked up right in here.
And his last appearance before then was on October 28th.
Now because of the line you came up with for him, I wish you would have won that trophy, paraded around with it, and then got on the microphone and been like, "Oh, what, you don't remember me? You think I'm irrelevant? Suck my bow tie!"
All right.
What is wrong with us?
We need to move on.